What's up, everyone? It seems that Case's days are numbered, and Ian and Dani have found themselves as the centre of some strategizing. Welcome to your live feed update. Since the wall yelling incident, several house guests seem to have woken up and realised that there is a call that they are not a part of. Ian and Bailey got together to discuss and scheme about this, both saying that there is a call that they are not involved in, and they believe that Cody is the leader of the call, whereas, Ian sort of said Cody was the leader, and Bailey believes Dani is the leader of the call, so it's a lot sort of backwards and forwards there, but they both agreed that they need to talk more often and discuss how they can potentially take a hit at that core and start to break them. But it sort of concluded at that. Didn't really go much further than that. And Bailey said, she needs time to process the incident and they'll get to talking much after. I feel like, it's been a couple of days since. I thought maybe they would have processed it by now and maybe discussed something of how to take it. But I think things will definitely be put into place next week, depending on who wins HOH. If one of the so-called bottom feeders wins the HOH, then they're going to take a stab at the big core. But if the core wins again, they're just going to continue treadmilling over people. Steamrolling is the correct phrase there. And although potentially it seems there was a mutiny going on with a lot of the people in the car actually turning against Dani, saying that she's playing a lot of people. There's a lot to take into account this week, and especially when people like Kesa are getting picked off, and Janelle went last week. It just sort of seems they're picking off the people who you perceive as the obvious targets essentially, and then when that gets down to the nitty gritty, it's going to be absolute chaos when they have to turn on one another. Ian and Kevin have been finding a way to try and utilise Case's eviction as a little sort of stepping stone that could help blow up the call's game. So they're discussing the fact that they could get Case to drop the bomb in the eviction speech and try and blow up someone's game, or just put a good old dent in the core of that alliance, basically leaving an open wound for them to target next week or going into next week. So that could be something that we see over the next couple of days with them utilising. How are they going to do that in his eviction speech? Is he going to call a house meeting before? I very much doubt it. I think it's going to come down to an eviction speech. It may not even happen, but Kesa being Kesa, he loves his strategy and he's probably game for something like that because he's got nothing to lose. Ian and Cody were chatting about targets, and Ian basically mentioned to Cody that Bailey and Davon are the biggest targets, so we don't really know which way Ian's going at the moment. Whatever he's doing, he's strategizing extremely well because he hasn't got the people on one side going for him, and on the other side, it's pretty much only Memphis that really is hellbent on getting him out. Enzo really wants him out, but he obviously doesn't want him out enough that he would actually try and get him out this week, because if he really badly wanted him out, he would have sent him packing this week, but he didn't even take the shot, so we know that Memphis is probably the only person that's hellbent on getting Ian out, so as a result, Ian's probably in really good sitting right now. But they discussed about the fact that Ian said, if it comes down to a knockout HOH, would Cody hand him the win and help him get the win? And Cody said absolutely. So it seems a little strange there to think, if Ian does win HOH, who's he going to target and who's he going to side with? Because when he does win HOH, the lines are drawn and he has to make a decision. Kesa and Bailey were talking about the bomb dropping of the eviction speech, and Kesa it was sort of centered around the fact that if he does blow up someone's game, it's going to be Dani's. The thought of blowing up 4 people's games, which was Cody, Nicole, Tyler, and Dani, was brought up, but I think he pretty much concluded on Dani's game. I mean, I think he even threw around the idea of blowing up everyone's game at that point, but I think he wanted to just concentrate on one person because then it's a lot more impactful and powerful when you can pack a punch in the speech just like that. So I think if he does go through with this bomb dropping of a speech, it's going to be centered on blowing up Dani's game. Cody and Nicole expressed their annoyance about the wall yeller incident, saying that they think it's very unfair and essentially they feel like it's going to be extremely difficult, if impossible, to even recover from the incident. It's going to do them damage for the game in the long haul. As we have seen this week, there's a lot of people beginning to scheme against those guys, so the wall yeller has definitely thrown a wrench in the works for their games. Enzo and Cody continue to solidify their core within the core of the Slick Six that is now officially crumbled, and they are starting to get annoyed with Tyler. They expressed this yesterday, but they're saying it again today, how they are annoyed at the fact that they feel Tyler is trying to turn everyone in the Slick Six against each other, but they can see straight through. That whole conversation went on for a while, but Enzo pretty much concluded on that his target is Dani, and he's going after her. The relationship with Davon and Nicole has been a bit of a strange one all season long. They didn't talk very much, then they did, then they didn't. It's sort of just, it comes in leaps and bounds with their relationship. But again, they've continued to say to each other, look, I'm not targeting you. It's pointless us trying to get each other because it just ruins both of our games. So it just makes it easier if both of us back off and call a truce. So they've basically both reiterated to one another that you are not my target and I'll be not trying to get you out of this house. Following on from Enzo saying that he wants to target Dani and he wants Dani out of the house. Now, Dani has actually expressed to Nicole that she feels there has been a little bit of a mood change around Enzo, saying that he's acting very differently. I think the key thing to do when you're targeting someone is don't act different around them because they're going to realise straight away. So Dani's realised that fast, and she realised she's in trouble. So Nicole's encouraged her to go for HOH next week, which I'm sure she will do her best to do. I don't know if she'll take a stab at Enzo. We will see if she wants to bite back, if she wants to make the first move, or will she just pick off someone that Nicole wants. because Nicole has expressed she wants Bailey out because she feels Bailey is definitely a threat. She is playing a strong social game, and she still believes as well that she's able to win comps. So we'll see where this week goes. If Nicole wins, if Dani wins, I both think they'll both be scheming very much together in the HOH room, and I think either way, it's going to annoy Enzo if Dani wins, or if Enzo obviously can't win this time round. But if Cody or Tyler wins, it's probably going to annoy Dani. So I feel like that's literally going to be there's a million cracks in the Slick Six right now, but whoever wins next week, if it's in that alliance, is probably going to, even if it's out the alliance, it's going to take that final sledgehammer and take out the Slick Six for good. After Memphis' dictatorship HOH reign, everyone seemed to be very, very annoyed with Memphis, and it was totally blown up. It was very, very much exaggerated and emphasised at the time. Obviously, it wasn't the greatest HOH reign, but everything has subsided since, meaning that it was exaggerated, but it's gone back down now, and people's annoyance levels have been sort of concentrated or diluted onto different people as a result. And they've said that Memphis, I think especially Dani and Bailey had said this, whilst Memphis was the massive problem before, he is no more as much as a problem as he was, because as well, with his injured back, he is sort of not really being able to do much game-wise, competition-wise. But then again, if those memory comps come in, Memphis may just pull through. But we just don't know. But it doesn't seem that Memphis is a priority for folk to get out anymore. So he's sitting quite well, considering the I'm going to say a catastrophe. Like it was a catastrophe, as simple as that. I'm going to say it was chaos. The HOH reign he had, and he's done very, very well to recover from it. Despite seeing that Ian, in the conversation with Cody earlier, saying that Bailey and Dave Vaughn should have to go as the duo, Ian reiterated to Kesa that it would be a waste of HOH to go for Bailey and Dave Vaughn because Kesa is in good sitting with them, so they won't be going for him. Ian has said to Kesa that if he wins HOH, the house will be shook up, it will be shaken up, and things will just blow up, essentially, because Ian is the person who is going to put a dent in the game. He's going to make a big move, and he ain't afraid to mess around. I feel like Janelle and Kesa would have been exactly the same should have they won HOH. So I think Ian's going to do them proud here and take a stab at the big alliance before they just pick everyone off. Because you're a fool if you continue to sort of beat around the bush at this point. If you're not in that big alliance, you need to take a stab at them. You can't just pick off a floater because it's not going to do you good for your game. This is Big Brother. You've got to be cutthroat if you want to make it to the end. And I think I respect Ian a lot for that, and I'm looking forward to see this big move he does. But this big move, I really hope it's going to be something that's beneficial to his game and not the majority of the alliance's game by following the house. Obviously, it's a strategy and it works for some people, but you know what? It's going to be a very predictable season if Ian doesn't make this big move should he win HOH. Things can just turn like that though in Big Brother, so we just don't know. But let's see if Ian sticks to his word and makes a big move should he win HOH. That is all of your game updates for today, folks. It pretty much consisted of continuing to get Kesa out and also the crumbling of the Slick Six with Ian and Dani scheming quite frequently. What will Dani do to evade this target on her back? And will Ian be able to make a big move next week? As Kesa's final wish is for him to take a stab at the Slick Six Core Alliance. Will he do it? Let's find out next week, guys. But I really appreciate you all watching this video. Thank you so much for your continued support. You are all legends. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.